Women of Reddit, what has been your worst nice guy experience? Joined student government and made a new friend the first day. He asked for my number so we could easily contact each other considering we were working in the same department. Figured it made sense so I gave him my number. An hour later I get a text message asking if I wanted to hang out sometime. Still didn't think much of it and figured I would reply later after class. Around half an hour later he sends me another text asking if I was interested and why I hadn't replied yet. Then he calls me. I don't pick up because I'm creeped out at this point. He leaves me a voicemail and starts flipping out on me saying I should just be upfront with him instead of leading him on. Immediately calls back again and leaves a voicemail asking if I'm still interested, if so I should let him know ASAP. Leaves another voicemail and gets angry at me saying that I'm not worth it and tells me I lost my chance. Then he calls again. I decline the call and block his number. Never saw him in student government after that day though. Many moons ago I met a guy on OkCupid and went on exactly one date. We had an okay time until the end of the date when he would not let go of me. As in, hugged me and wouldn't stop. At first I kind of laughed. But it quickly accelerated to okay. F King, let me go now. He let go about 2 seconds before I went screaming bloody murder ballistic. And suffice it to say I was done with this guy forever. He sent me 3 emails that night. 3 the next day. And kept this up for about a month. Then about 3 months later he emailed me again. To see if you've decided you're into nice guys after all. If you've decided you're into nice guys after all. I had one guy who had a crush on me completely stopped talking to me when I started dating someone else. But on my birthday I got a huge box in the mail from him. It had a ton of weird stuff in it. Bed sheets. A stuffed giraffe. An old journal from a young grade that I had to write and for points with new entries made about me, all written in his kid style. A framed collage of pictures of me and screenshots of our text conversations. A letter explaining the giraffe begged to be sent to me. As well as congratulating me on my 4-month anniversary. I called him immediately to tell him that it was inappropriate and he called my boyfriend and got into a fight with him or something and then posted on Facebook about how he went out of his way to get a nice gift for a girl who didn't appreciate it. Edit. A word. Also, since it seems unclear, Nisegui lived 300 miles away, so the fight was just a phone conversation that I wasn't around to hear. Oh. And the bed sheets were his. Not new. Unopened bed sheets. I had a random guy add me on Facebook. One mutual friend. But nothing else in common. No idea who he was. So, logically, I ignored the request. The next day I start getting messages. I know someone as beautiful as you would never talk to me. But I have to try. Girls like you are the worst. I'm just being nice. You could at least say hi. Bitch. I'm the best you could get. I blocked him. Was thoroughly creeped out for a while after that. Who does that? I was getting tutored at school one time and the guy who was tutoring me was asking what my plans were for the weekend. I assumed it was small talk, so I just said the usual. Studying. Working. Hanging out with my boyfriend. He got so pissed. He started to rant on and on about how girls like me were all the same. Always using guys and then never giving anything in return. That he helped me, so the least I could do was go out on a date with him. That he's so nice and no girls ever want to date him. Probably because we all like jerks. His words. He said I was a fake tease too for allowing him to tutor me. He got kind of aggressive too and started to slam things around, shove chairs into the tables and stuff. I noped out of there so fast. First few weeks in freshman year of high school. Was waiting at the lunch line when a senior comes up to me and offers to pay my lunch. Despite being 14. I can still tell he's obviously going to try to make a move or something, but I say FCK it. Free lunch, right? Anyway, he buys my lunch and I expect him to ask my number or some other petty shit. But this motherfucker says, and I quote, "Meet me in the bathroom after lunch." I think maybe he was trying to be a bully but misunderstood the rules. I don't get it, guys. I was so ready to give this dweeb my first swirly and she doesn't show. Asterisk. She? What I mean she? Frank? You're not supposed to bully girls. You'd better go give her back her lunch money. Asterisk. Give it back? I thought I was supposed to pay for her lunch. I've had a number of guys who I went on a date with who insisted on paying for my meal or drinks or whatever, who then turn around and get really angry if I don't want to hook up with them because I owe them. When I point out that I'm not a prostitute, they always tell me how I should be more appreciative of how nice and kind they were to me. I always stop dating for a while after this happens. I'd invest in a shirt that says disclaimer. I do not FCK on the first date. Or if you buy me a drink. Not even mozzarella sticks. Okay. Maybe mozzarella sticks. But best not to try. It will be a long shirt. But still worth a try. A long time ago, a guy in my group project insisted on driving me home afterwards because he didn't want me to walk in the rain. How nice of him. The next time our group met up, he wanted to drive me home again, but I declined because I was going to a friend's place. He blew the FCK up at me and said the only reason I wouldn't date him, first of all, a ride home is not a date. Dude. Was because he was Middle Eastern. I already had a boyfriend at the time, who was Lebanese. I thought that would shut him up. But then he said that white women shouldn't be with Arabic men. Like, you just wanted to date me a second ago. Pal. Another dude in the group thankfully suggested subtly that we finish the project via email. True bro. I'll never forget you. Guy whose name I forgot. He seemed nice at first. We dated for maybe 2 weeks. I wasn't feeling it. So rather than lead him on, I broke up with him. He went on to tell his whole Christian Bible college about how the woman he was going to marry had broken his heart and that they should pray for me. He then texted me every few days to tell me that he was praying for me and that he's here for me whenever I'm ready. Blocked him after a few of those. Because I'm happily in a great relationship now. But he still posts stuff on Instagram about me and how I broke his heart. It's awkward. It was high school. I considered the guy my best friend. And when he revealed that he had feelings for me, I rejected him and asked if he was comfortable staying just friends. He insisted that it was cool that I didn't feel the same way and he wanted to keep hanging out platonically. He was mostly pretty okay about it. Until I started seeing a girl. Oh. Even girls are getting a shot with you before I do. Huh. He joked. I told him that my new relationship was a secret because she and I were both still in the closet. He was the only one I told. Since, you know, he claimed to be my best friend. By the next week, everyone in our entire hometown knew. Faced tons of backlash. Got homophobic slurs muttered about me in the hallways at school. Good times. TL. I went on some dates with a very nice guy, who naturally complained that girls didn't like him because he was too nice. The problem was that his idea of nice was avoiding confrontation. I did something that upset him and instead of talking to me about it, he sent me this insanely long text message that came through scrambled and I could barely read it. So I say come over and we will talk about it. Shows up. Says basically nothing even when I am asking pointed questions based on what I was able to decipher from this crazy long text. Happened a second time and I gave up. He was nice, but that definitely wasn't the problem. It was that he never wanted to say something even mildly confrontational, which meant we couldn't ever talk about something we might disagree about. No way to move forward in a relationship like that. So now I'm just one more woman who didn't like him because he is too nice. I left a university club meeting and the organizer told all the guys to walk the girls to their cars to protect them. One guy walked me to my car and then pinned me against my door, refusing to let me get into my car until I kissed him and agreed to go on a date with him. He kept saying he was a nice guy. He walked me to my car. He was a gentleman. I kept begging him to let me go and that he was hurting me. He had pinned my arm behind my shoulder. My shoulder hurt for a week. I finally relented and let him kiss me while I cried and lied that I would go on a date with him. When I finally got home and told my friends what happened, they said, "Why didn't you just agree to go on a date with him? He's such a nice guy." That happened 10 years ago and it still scares me. WTF is wrong with your friends? What he did is called an assault. And that's far from what nice people do. I'm sorry you had to experience that. He thought being aware of the fact he was acting like a nice guy meant he could act like a nice guy. If he knew I was going out that night, he'd check my Facebook to see if I added a guy. If I did, it invariably ended in one big shitty fight, and he's just the paranoid type. He's just a natural worrier. Why can't I deal with it? New Year's, he posted a long-winded status about wishing he could cry less. How he should learn to ride a motorbike. I kissed a guy and mentioned I like guys who ride motorbikes once. Honestly, it took a long talk from a friend to realize what he was doing was emotional manipulation, not just being an ass. He'd been chasing me since I was 16 and he was 23. I cut him out of my life entirely and got a wonderful boyfriend. Lo and behold, not a day later, one long ass text about how I found my one and he's everything I'm not. Just what you wanted. How he got my number is beyond me. You know all those text conversations you see where the guy says hello 135,000 times in a row within like an hour and then calls the girl a bitch at the end? That shit does happen. A past co-worker had a huge crush on me. He was very sweet, but I would ignore his incessant messaging, and when he asked me if I received his messages that weekend, I came up with a basic excuse. "Sorry, but my phone is messed up and I don't receive messages on time." This F-king guy not only believes a terrible excuse, but he adds a phone line to his phone plan. Gets a great quality, brand new goddamn phone and surprises me with it at the end of my shift. As he stands beside my car with a bulgy-eyed stuffed animal and a T-Mobile box. I wanted to crawl into a hole. Long story short, let him down easy and he cried. No, he did not get watery-eyed. He F-king cried with snot coming out as I gave him a ride home because he had taken the bus for an added surprise so I wouldn't suspect he was there. It's not that bad, but it just stuck with me. I was walking with my friend when a stranger passed us saying under his breath, "Bitches. Think they're better than me. Won't even say hello." It turns out he had said hi a few seconds earlier. 12 feet away from us. Out of our line of sight. While we were talking. And really quietly. I felt bad. I'm a lesbian. Have been out for a long time, so it's not a secret or anything. Back in uni there was this dude who was a mutual friends with my friend group. I got along with him okay before things came to a head around my last 2 years. Apparently he had been having a crush on me and had been resenting that I wouldn't reciprocate. Proceeded to tarnish my reputation with my friends and got them to basically up and abandon me. When I met my current so and we were working towards getting together, he sent a former friend to tell my so that I'm a bad person. Good thing she didn't listen. We've been together for 3 years now. In a way, these are always a silver lining. One time a guy from my sister's school bought her a red rose. Once she took it, he said, "Now you have to have sex with me." He genuinely thought it was a rule she had to follow and that she owed him sex. He got really aggressive when she said no and he snatched the rose back, so she legged it out of there before it got worse. My ex was a nice guy, but not in a good way. Used to wake up in the morning with about 100 text messages. Usually poems. He found out my work mail and sent me poems there. He was overly controlling. I never got a minute to myself. He used to tell me that I was his savior. When I broke up with him, he told me, "Well, I guess I have nothing to live for now." Went on 2 dates with a guy and let him know I wasn't interested and didn't think we had much of a connection, but had the whole no hard feelings. Let's stay in touch as friends chat. A few months later he contacts me on Facebook to ask me how I'm going. Whether I got that job I wanted. etc etc. I figure, wow, this is lovely, could turn into a friendship. etc etc. Then one night out of the blue he asks if I could come over to his place to ride him and that he would do anything to get into my pants, and went into great detail about how he'd like to attack my So all that friendly banter, after I made it very clear that I wasn't interested, was just a ruse so he could proposition me for sex in the most explicit and desperate way when he felt a pang of horniness. Don't do this, people. It doesn't work. Once I was at a pub with my girlfriend on a Tuesday, sitting at the bar having a beer. This nice guy approached us and started talking to us. He was awkward, annoying, not my type at all, but a really nice guy. After a few minutes of talking to us, he decided to buy a $500 bottle of whiskey for all three of us to share. We insisted, almost begged him not to buy it. He didn't want to talk to him. We hate whiskey and we both had an exam the next day, hence we're planning on leaving after our beer. Nevertheless, he orders the bottle. I told him again I couldn't have any. He then told us he was diagnosed with cancer and had a large tumor growing inside his brain. And for God's sakes, just accept the whiskey. I quietly sat there and sipped the whiskey away. Till that nice guy actually means psychotic asshole. Hey ladies, I'm a shitbag. Don't date me. Totally my type. Do you wanna make out? I'm 15 and at band camp. One of my friends had a half brother who was seriously crushing on me. His mom and brother ganged up on me and basically forced me to go on a date with this guy because he was so nice and he liked me so much. Ended up not asking me out again. BC I didn't play pickup basketball. Question mark? Whose mom tries to play matchmaker like this with a teenager she doesn't know? I understand his reason for not asking you out again though. I won't even consider a woman unless she goes hard in the paint. When I was waitressing at a restaurant, I was friend with a guy cook. We were walking home after a shift and suddenly a car stopped next to us. It was summer and I was wearing shorts, and that apparently was a good reason for one of the guys in the car to scream, "Baby, show me your PSSY." I started saying something, but before I could get much out I heard one of them scream and then the car suddenly screeched off. Apparently my friend whipped out his ding-a-ling without me noticing. Unorthodox. But it was hilarious and pretty awesome. Edit. I didn't notice the quotations around nice guy, so this was actually a real nice guy moment. Still a hilarious moment in my life though. Was at a party in Phoenix, Arizona. In July. This extremely thin guy with long, greasy hair, a fedora, and a black trench coat told me I was quite lovely and that he would take me to his bed. If only I didn't already have a mate. Good grief. I have a nice girl situation. In high school I was very social and made friends easily. I enjoyed gravitating to those who were shunned by most. My girlfriend in high school had one of those friends that were shunned by most. I wanted her to feel included, so invited her to our hangouts and stuff. My best friend in whole world liked her and had the courage to ask her out. They dated for over 4 years. I was on and off with my high school girlfriend. But this girl would be clever and ask about me over the years. When my best friend finally broke it off, and I too was single, she would call me, text me trying to subtly gauge my interest in her. My ex then contacted me saying that this girl was interested in me and she had asked her for permission to date me. She then confessed to mutual friends that the only reason she dated my best friend for over 4 years was to get close to me and wait for the right time to get me. Talk about the long con. It's my first time drinking, and I'm at a sleepover with my friend, who is female. I was 17 and super excited to be drinking. So I message my friends online who are awake that I'm drinking and it's super fun. This guy replies back and immediately starts flirting with me. I've known he liked me for a couple years, but he was like 23 and I was about to go away for college and I've never liked him. He starts going on about how I should have sex with him and floods me with nudes. I flat out say no. And his response is, "You can't know if you like sex with me yet because you haven't tried it and it's not our pay if you scream yes by the end." Finally he gets that I mean no. So he cuts his arms like 40 times each and posts the picture to Facebook. I blocked him. So he cuts his arms like 40 times each and posts the picture to Facebook.